What is going on? Welcome to the next episode of the Fit and Healthy Sioux Falls Show. Man, we are in for a ride today, kind of down memory lane. I've got an awesome guest with me. I call him Scooby. Others call him Ryan. But we're going to dive into the Sioux Falls Hapkido and Judo Club and what it is all about. Let's dive in to today's episode. Mr. Scooby. What is up, bro?
Hey, CJ. It's nice to see you again.
Dude, I love it. So do people call you Scooby?
Everybody calls me Scooby.
Everybody does.
I've been called Scooby since high school. It's one of those things that kind of kicked off and then really just stuck, and I never really got rid of it, to tell you the truth, too.
There's been stints in our relationship where I have actually forgot what your name was.
Sure.
I'm like, Scooby, what in the heck is his real name? and I got stuck because, Scooby. And really, Scooby and I, we met. Did we meet like right away, 2015?
Yeah, it was, I was moving out of the front of the building, and you were moving into the front of the building, and I was moving to the back. We were in a transition period with the martial arts dojo as you came in. So that's kind of where we kicked off what we have now, to tell you the truth. So
the martial arts dojo, the studio that I moved into, you did not own it at the time, right? Like in the beginning, when you guys were in the front,
correct,
it was owned by someone else.
Correct.
And you took over ownership when you transitioned into the back of that building.
Yep, that's correct. Also,
okay,
yep. It was Master Jeho Sam.
Yes.
He had been teaching for probably 30 to 35 years at that point, from what I remember.
Yeah.
He was about my age now, to tell you the truth, about 47, somewhere close to 52, I do believe, somewhere in there. And it was just, I think he felt it was just kind of his time to move on. I was in a good spot to just kind of take over and start to rebuild in a different type of platform, change the name, and focusing on a little bit more of Hapkido and Judo, because he was a Hapkido, Judo, and Taekwondo master. Just amazing to watch kick and strike. It was awesome. But yeah, he was kind of just working his way out a little bit.
Yep.
And I just kind of picked up the pieces with a few of the other black belts and started to grow. 9 years ago now.
Yeah.
So
wild, right?
Yeah, man, it's been a wild ride. It's amazing where we've gone from. Starting from about 8 students, I think we're sitting at 50 to 60 at this point.
Yeah.
That's about where we kind of like to be comfortable with. So
yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of that. Is really a neat thing. So
yeah, explain to our audience and re-explain to even me.
Sure.
Remind me, what is Hapkido and then what is Judo?
Sure. That's really nice. I'm going to go into it a little bit. I really started with the Hapkido program because I was big into just self-defense.
Okay.
Wanting to be able to take care of myself. And Hapkido, best way to put it is like the MMA of martial arts. It's actually meant to fight other martial arts. It has to do with kicking, striking. You learn judo throws. You learn ground submissions such as arm bars and chokes and pins and so on and so forth. But it's a really fundamental martial art. So I really, really like that. When it came around 1920s, I'll give you a little history lesson on it, because we have kind of a direct lineage to it, which is really crazy being from South Dakota.
Oh, cool.
So it started in the 1920s, Choyung Sewell, and then he eventually, had about 15 students. One of them was one you'll know is Bong Soo Han, and he's actually came to America in the 60s, and he's in a lot of like Bruce Lee movies and so on and so forth. Yeah, he did a really good job of marketing Hapkido and so on and so forth. Our Grandmaster Seng Young Lee was also one of the original students, but he was promoted by a gentleman named Jihan Jae. Okay. And he was also one of the original students. Why he was promoting, how that worked out, how the dynamic worked out, I can't give you that information.
Sure.
But he moved to America as well. Didn't have the same promotion ideas as Bong Soo Han as much. Did more of a private lessons. I think there's only one school of his in California. And then Jihan Jae, his promoter, is actually in the 60s and 70s was the instructor for the South Korean Secret Service. And that's
wow.
Yeah, so Hapkido comes in a real strong point out of Korea.
Yeah.
So I really like the concept of it. It's very practical. It's very to the point. Grandmaster Sim, he's Grandmaster now. He was Master Sim back then. He's made it a few more years.
Yeah.
He went with a couple other guys and met Grandmaster Lee, and he had simplified and made it a little bit more destructive, we'll say, more street practical.
Okay.
Because if you look at Hapkido, like say on the internet and so on and so forth, it looks really fancy, very very choreographed and stuff like that. But the style we teach is more street practical. It's to the point, 1, 2, 3, 4 moves. We want to be done with the fight.
Yeah.
We don't want to ever fight, right? But if we have to, we want to win. I always tell my kids and my adults, it's better to win the fight and go home and be with your family. There's no reason to be that tough guy and prove a point. It's just easier to walk away if necessary. But
and so Hapkido is self-defense.
Yes, sir.
And for adults and kids.
Yep.
And men and women.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It works great for everybody, women especially. I really like Hapkido as like a precursor to even opening yourself up to other martial arts, and that's kind of how it worked out for me. Once we started learning how to blend throws with punches and Hapkido, then I'm like, well, I need to learn judo.
Sure, because now what is judo?
Yeah, right? So now judo is created in 1882 by Jigoro Kano, and it is all about basically grabbing onto somebody and manipulating their body, getting them off balance in a certain way, shape, or form, and you use your hands, your hips, or your feet to take them off the ground and put them on the ground. So it's kind of like an old samurai way. If it's used as a sport now. It's an Olympic sport. It can be a self-defense as well too. It's however you want to put it. We focus on the sport aspect because it really puts you out there. For one, we want to take people up in that level in that sport aspect if they wish.
Is judo a belt specific sport, like a white belt you start and then a black belt in judo, or no?
Yes. It goes white. Well, it goes white, yellow, orange, green. Then it goes brown, brown, brown. Okay. And then you get your black belt. Okay. And I don't know why they do the 3 brown belts. I never did do much.
So you literally get 3 different brown belts.
Well, you keep the same one and it just gets really dirty.
Gotcha. Okay.
Basically is kind of how that goes.
Okay.
But judo's all about taking somebody off their feet, either throw them on their back, they land on their side, or you can take them down and pin them, choke them, and armbar them as well for the finish.
And is it fun? I actually just went. We have a coach, Coach Seth, who is into like MMA.
Cool.
And I actually just went to my first fights ever. The LFA was in town.
Sure.
And I know, like, the only thing I know about any of this stuff is literally that I used to hear you guys doing it behind when I was in opening Fit Body, and you guys were behind us. So like that is the extent of my knowledge. I never took Taekwondo.
Sure.
I never did any of these programs.
Right.
And so Coach Seth gets excited beyond belief, which kind of reminds me a bit of you when I talk to you about any of the Hapkido or Judo or any of the stuff that you were teaching.
Yep.
Because I can see the people that do this, there becomes a very big passion in it.
Yeah.
But to my point that I guess I was getting at is when I was watching these LFA fights, they're MMA, and they were like, the ones we were watching, there was like 3 rounds, and I think they're like 5 minutes per round. Is that like how judo is played or performed, or how do you like?
No, yeah, you said it right. We call it playing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a game.
Yep.
It gets serious more as you go up, but we call each other players.
Yep.
And then I just tell, even with my kids, let's go play a game.
Yep.
It goes by ages.
Okay.
3 minutes on up.
Okay.
3 minutes for the young kids and 4 minutes for the seniors.
For a round
For a round.
Okay.
Yep.
And how many rounds?
Only one.
One round.
Only one. If nobody scores, or if you're tied at the end of the match, then you go to golden score, and the first person to score wins.
After that.
So, yep.
3 minutes done, and then golden score.
Yep. And there's a penalty system too. So if you get 3 penalties and you do something incorrect, step out of bounds, grip wrong, touch somebody's face, you get 3 penalties. It's called a hansakamake, and then you're done for that match.
Okay.
You're not kicked out of the tournament, but
Yep.
you're out of that match and you lost.
The opponent won.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically. So the judo aspect is just, judo is one of the hardest things I've ever learned. I'm actually learning jiu-jitsu now too, and we'll get to that shortly. But judo is one of the hardest things you ever learn.
Why?
Let's put it like judo and jiu-jitsu. They're basically the same thing. They've just divided it up over the years, which is okay because they both take a really long time to learn. It is hard to manipulate somebody else's body while manipulating your body to get that person out of the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been in a wrestling match with somebody and you try, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's very, very difficult to, and that's the thing with judoka, is that perfection. And we call it, actually a buddy of mine, DJ, put it in a really good way. It's a moment in time.
Yep.
That's all you get in judo is a moment in time.
Sure.
You got to catch them when they're stepping. You got to catch them when they're moving. It's like when that foot comes down to the ground, that's all you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you're both trying to ground yourself.
Yeah.
You're both trying to hold yourself stable.
Yep.
And you are trying to find that split second where you catch them off guard.
Totally.
Because that's all you get. And even, and I'm just going to relate it back to watching these MMA fights, because literally I just watched them here over this last weekend before recording this. But what I noticed is when you go to the MMA fights, at least my first time ever being there, I could even tell by the crowd thrives off of the kicking, the punching, the fighting.
Yes.
But that actually happens very little.
Correct.
What happens more is just like holding on to each other. But what I noticed, and just like any workout, whenever you're doing like a isometric hold, where you're just holding like a plank, for example.
Correct.
When you're just or a wall sit, you just hold your body in a specific flexed fashion.
Yep.
Next thing you know, the body and the muscles, they start shaking. And then the next thing you know, the body starts sweating, because it's like you're exerting so much energy
effort,
and you're not moving.
Right.
It's like you are giving everything. It's like everything you have and you're not going anywhere.
Correct.
And so I could see that. And so what I get to your point is how you get that split second. And until that split second happens, you're giving everything you have just to not give them the split second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because part of judo is called, one of our tenets is maximum efficiency with minimal effort.
Okay.
So like being in that tight position like you're talking about, we try to train them to not be that way. We want them to be really, really loose and controlled.
Sure.
And then when you find that split second, that's when you move.
That's when you go to it.
And then that's when you hit it, But like judo's just, how else can I put it? It's like fighting a 200-pound Rubik's Cube that fights back. You're trying to solve that problem, and it does not want to be solved very easy.
Yeah.
So, but putting part of the things that I really was focusing on too when we were doing the Hapkido and Judo program is putting martial arts together that complement each other.
Sure.
And I'm not out to knock any other martial art. To each their own.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own skills at what they do. And if it makes you happy, rock and roll. And if you're successful in it, rock and roll. I don't like the politics of certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of like you promote the same way as the way I promote, I feel, is you want to surround yourself with people that are going to make you better.
Yep.
No egos, no showing off, no bully type of system in our dojo ever. It's everybody helps each other out.
Yeah.
And we're not out to beat each other. We're out to beat the people that are out there that don't like us. You know what I mean? The punks and so on and so forth.
Yep.
We always hope that we never have to use it, but it sure is fun learning with your friends.
Yeah.
Even when your friends catch you and they get you in a good move.
Yeah.
Like, good job, man.
Yeah. You got me.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What are and again, this I think kind of does correlate with a lot of different types of martial arts, but there's always like, you see like the 3 or 4 words, and it's like respect and like, you know what I mean? Like, and it teaches the students of the martial arts these different core values almost, if you will, and I think that's why a lot of times like kids will gravitate towards this, because they love learning this sport with like foundational principles behind it. Like, we're not just fighting to fight.
No.
And in today's world, I feel like you see a lot of that. You see a lot of fighting just to fight.
Yep.
And like, what is the purpose? And so this helps kids and then obviously as they grow into adults and so on, but it helps them learn a set of principles. What are kind of some of the main principles, I guess, that are instilled in anyone, but it's specifically the kids? Like when kids enroll in Hapkido, in Judo, what are some of the principles that they're going to learn?
The three that I focus on mainly are respect, humble, humility, and patience.
Okay.
I feel in any way, any shape or order you put those three, they're going to complement each other.
Yep.
You have to humble yourself to know that it's not easy to learn a technique.
Yep.
You have to respect your partner and not hurt them as you're doing the technique or give them what they want. And you have patience to go through everything that you're learning.
Yep.
So the nice thing is like martial arts is a team sport, but everybody grows individually.
Sure.
You know, same concept as Fit Body.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. Like everybody's there just to get better.
Yep.
So I really, really push the respect, the patience, the humble. I do it a lot in my teachings. You know, I feel I'm an offshoot of the parents as well.
Yeah.
Because parents, you know, come to me too, you know, like I need a hand.
Yeah.
I do it to my mom still. Like, Mom, what do I do? You know,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
you know, so I feel I treat all the kids like I treat my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to bark at them a little bit like I bark at my kids. They don't get away with stuff that, you know, if you can't get away with that in my house, you don't get away with it in my dojo.
Yep.
You don't talk to your parents when you're on my mat, you know, that type of thing. We try to reiterate all of those things that the parents are looking for as well too.
Yeah.
And I think it actually kind of translates to the parents as well. I mean, in my common sense, it should. If they're listening as well, then we're all kind of working together towards the same goal for their kids and whatever we're looking for to accomplish. You know?
What age can a child start your guys' program at? And your guys' program, the name of your dojo is Sioux Falls Hapkido and Judo, correct?
Correct.
So what age can somebody start at Sioux Falls Hapkido and Judo?
I try to, the thing with, it takes a long time to get through my programs.
Yeah.
A lot of people have delusions of grandeur of like, I'm going to start my kid off super young and get him to national champ by 7, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
I do my best to take my time with that because we do have a lot of time. We start around 5 years old.
Okay.
I try to keep just 3 or 4 5-year-olds in because they're a little bit more fun than the rest of the class. You know what I mean?
A little more rambunctious.
They are. So they take just a little bit more focus. So I try to keep that number down. But I go all the way. I mean, I have 5-year-olds all the way up to 55 right now.
Yeah.
So, and I push more towards, I'm going to honestly say I push more towards, you know, 8 or 9 years old for kids to start martial arts.
Sure.
That gives it a nice amount of time for them to get through high school and to move on and to get through the entire program.
Yeah.
Because martial arts is kind of a lifelong thing too.
Yeah.
But we don't give belts away. You know, I only test kids maybe once a year.
And you have to earn it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, definitely have to earn it. Your attitude has to be good. You have to be good at home. You have to have good grades. There's no acting outside of there and then showing up and being like, okay, I'm good to go. No, we don't allow that either.
Yep.
You know, we promote that and guide that with the parents as well too. But yeah, we just try to keep it on that forward moving process with the younger kids. But it's just I'm not about pushing kids through a program and making money. I'm about growing people's lives and making them stronger through the concepts of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We may never fight, but we're making our bodies stronger. I've always thought my best philosophy is it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yep.
You know, if I never have to use it, I don't want to use it. I tell them, don't go brag about it. Put it in your pocket.
Right.
You know, because people want to challenge you.
Right.
You know? So just use it when you use it.
Yeah.
Keep your family safe.
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, there's been times, I know only a couple times, but you've actually come to Fit Body and you've taught some like self-defense a couple of times. Do you guys offer that at your dojo from time and time again? Like where it's just like specific, hey, this day, this time we're doing self-defense, or have you now more so just kind of included that you learn self-defense when you're in our program?
you know, you do both.
Okay.
Since COVID hit, of course, I've had to pick up something off to the side.
Yep.
So I'm a little bit more busy now. So the self-defense classes are harder for me to incorporate into my system.
Yep.
We did have classes for a year. It just didn't kick off as much as I wanted it to, but we do get calls. I'm working with somebody now through a church that we're going to try to work the program through and stuff like that too. But honestly, self-defense classes are a great place to get a good sense of awareness and to start build your confidence.
Yeah.
But once you actually get into a physical confrontation and it's scary and you don't know what to do, you really ultimately need that training to react without thinking.
Yeah.
And to learn how to work with that fight or flight mode or the panic. So I like self-defense classes. I think they're great for awareness, but ultimately, if you want to learn something, you need to learn how to battle and put yourself through that type of situation. Hopefully, like I say, we never have to use it.
Yep.
But even just a little bit of confidence in some people really goes a long way.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. No is a big word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for a person, if they wanted to get started in Hapkido or Judo with you guys, like how does that look? What's the process going to look like for that with you guys?
I'd like to offer a 2-week trial.
Okay.
I like to do the 2-week trial because that gives you a chance to do both martial arts. Okay. Basically, all the instructors are the same. We have like 6 black belts in Hapkido, 6 black belts in Judo. So they get lots of different knowledge. But I like to do a 2-week program because it's such an extensive program, so you can get to see if you like the kids, like the program, like the instructors. If you don't, such as life, if it's not what you're looking for, okay. Yeah. But, it also helps us to start grow our relationship.
Yeah.
It's easier to, I feel it's easier to look somebody in the eye and talk to them and know where they're coming from than text and emails and stuff like that. Because you kind of, what does that mean? And you keep going back and forth. So I like to get them in the door and talk to them, and then we can figure out what goals are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
2 weeks free. My website is SiouxFallsMartialArts.com. Has the schedule on there.
Yeah. What is your schedule?
Mostly nights, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
Hapkido is Monday and Wednesdays at 6:30 to 7:30.
Okay.
Kids Judo is... So basically, Monday and Wednesday is Hapkido, and Tuesday, Thursday is Judo.
Got it.
And then Jiu-Jitsu follows from 7:30 to 9.
Okay.
After all of those classes, I do believe. Yeah, he's got a Friday class as well. No, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Saturday class at noon is what he's got.
Okay. And that's on the website. And obviously, as they, if they are interested and whatnot, and chatting with you, they can learn more about that.
For sure.
Is your studio work in the way in which, like, if you sign up for Judo, then you're doing Judo, or if you sign up for Hapkido, then you're doing Hapkido, or is it I am a member of your club and you can do kind of both? How does that work?
It's kind of complicated at the moment. I wish it wasn't, but I'm working with another coach at the moment, and we're with the jiu-jitsu coach together. So basically, if you sign up with me for Hapkido and Judo, you can do Hapkido and Judo at the same time.
Okay.
If you are looking for just like a grappler's package, me and Coach Sawyer with the Misfits, you can do like Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, and we have a package between us that we kind of discuss in the dojo, because he kind of takes care of that. And
sure, it's a little more
I
custom
take care of mine.
package.
He's growing, and we're working on the growing type thing, which is good for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. And in a given class, you call them classes?
Yep, classes.
Yep. Okay,
just a regular class.
In a given class, could you have like 5-year-olds upwards of like 50-year-olds in one class, or no, it's broken? Like, how does that work?
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I focus my Hapkido program towards families.
Okay.
I have a kids class 10 and under on Wednesday nights for 45 minutes, but the Monday and Wednesday 6:30 class, I promote families.
Sure.
I think it's great to have a dad come in with their daughter and learn how to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They can practice together at home. On top of that, it builds the family. Everybody's stronger. Who wants to come into a house full of martial artists? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I can't do that with Judo as much because it's just a little bit different. But with Hapkido, I can definitely, I push them as family classes.
More family.
Yeah, more families you can bring in. I cap, my family pricing caps off at 4 people. So you can have 8 people and you're going to pay the same as 4.
Oh, sure.
I just don't believe in emptying families' pockets
just
to learn some martial arts and to make your family safer.
Yeah.
So I just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah.
Try to do the best I can for families.
That's very cool. Okay. So that's kind of how that works. Other than that too, like why did you personally, let's talk a little bit about like you and yourself. Why did you want to get into martial arts? And speaking of which, before that, have a second to think about maybe why you wanted to get in.
Sure.
When did you get started? What age were you when you started martial arts?
I started at 30 years old.
Okay.
And I just happened to have a friend who was going to Jeho's gym.
Yep.
And we were big into, I mean, UFC was just coming out. I think it was like UFC 50 or something like that. Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture days, you know what I mean? Stephen Bonner and Forrest Griffin, all that kind of stuff. So I knew that I needed to get into, it was a choice I had to make because I wanted a standing art and I wanted a ground art. So I was this close to going to Next Edge because they were doing Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, those two are pretty well. After watching MMA, I wanted to make sure I put two things together that made sense.
Yeah.
You know, because you got to have standing and you got to have ground in my opinion.
I think Next Edge, I know that's where Coach Seth goes.
Oh, really? He's there too?
Yep.
Yeah. Coach Bruce is a great guy. He's got a good program going. He's been growing like crazy too. He didn't start much before us.
Yeah.
But sorry, I lost track of my question.
So you were looking into that. You wanted standing art and a
how I
grappling
got
art.
started. So a friend of mine just came here, and I just there was only 4 in the Hapkido class, and we just kind of got into it. And I just dug it.
Yeah.
Like the discipline of it. I was shouting loud. I was kicking hard. Everybody else was like, dude, you know, like chill out. And I'm like, no, this is my thing now.
I'm having fun.
Yeah. And like all the stuff that Master Sim taught, you could tell was legit. It wasn't foo-foo. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go to a McDojo.
Yep.
And yeah, like the guy worked me out, made me puke my first class. I did so many tricep push-ups, dude. I thought I was tough. And I think I sat in a chair for like 3 days with ice packs, just popping pain pills. But I told him, I was like, I'm coming back. I was like, just wait for me.
Yeah.
You know, and then it kind of just started from there. And eventually the judo program grew. I was just into the Hapkido to start with.
Yeah.
And then the judo program grew and everything just kind of snowballed into that.
Yeah.
But I started when I was about 30. I didn't want to be 40 years old and out of shape and not be able to do anything about
38, because you're 47?
46.
46.
Yep.
Okay. So 37, 38 was about the time you took over.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like you'd been doing it for 6 to 8 years with Jay.
Master Sam. Yep.
And then as it came time, and honestly, that him closing down his portion of the studio when he did turned out to be the biggest blessing for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had no idea what I was looking for.
Sure.
And when I found I had Jay-Z, who was my realtor.
Yep.
And he brought me, he's like, hey, there's this martial arts studio that's going to be downsizing. I want you to come look at this. And I don't have a clue what I'm looking for. I need to open a fit body. I'm like, I'm opening this gym. What do I need? And when he showed me that space, I still remember there was these dragons on the wall. And when we painted over the dragons, we did our best to cover them up. But they continued to seep through. And it was like a couple of years, these dragons were popping through the white painting. And I had to repaint.
I remember that.
Continued to cover up the dragons. But then you moved to that back portion of that facility. And it just worked out really well for the both of us.
Yeah.
And I think that you and I both, I just can remember, you know, I was opening Fit Body. You were taking over the Hapkido and Judo. And there would be times where we would sit there and in the middle of the day, there wasn't a lot going on for either of us.
At that point, yeah.
At that point. Times are different now.
Yep.
But I'd maybe pop back into your dojo and just chit chat with you like, hey, how are we going to get some more people in here? And we'd just talk and we'd figure out, you know, what we could do. And we'd do some different things. And I remember you'd pop in the front like, hey, you know anything about Facebook? And we were just talking, trying to figure out what the heck we're going to do.
Yeah.
And we shared a back hallway and we shared a bathroom. And I think that both you and I had such the like, let's make it work mentality.
Totally.
Where, you know, our landlord even too was like, well, who's going to pay for what? And we always worked it out.
Yep.
And we didn't know what we didn't know.
No.
And we just worked hard to service whatever person walked through our door.
Right.
And then we tried to figure out how could we have mutual clients? How could maybe if the kids are going to judo or Hapkido, could then mom or dad come to boot camp or vice versa? And we even worked some of those things out. And that's how I met some of the awesome Chloe and her mom, Holly.
That's right.
That's how I met them. And I've even helped Holly with some other stuff for her full-time job, now doing emceeing of different things. And it's just been crazy how you never know who you're going to meet.
Nope.
That here we are almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
And what was it? Maybe 2 weeks ago, I shot you a text and I was like, hey, I'm just trying to get more exposure to different health and wellness type of things in town. Yep. You want to come on the podcast? And here we are. And we met in 2014.
Yep.
Is when we originally met.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Your wife and you were clients forever at the gym. And, you know, you'd pop over there. And, man, it was just so much fun when we could have, I think even times you'd bring even some of all of your instructors over and we would all work out together. And you'd be almost like a requirement that you're like, hey, guys, before we do our training tonight, we're going to go do boot camp.
Yep.
And we just had fun.
It was a blast. I remember doing that Saturday mornings.
Yes.
You know, renting the space or whatever, what I had to do, push them through, and then we'd go do an hour and a half of judo or Hapkido and stuff like that. And then Mr. Ryan and I would always pop in on our free, before we got busy, right? Like we always made, and to tell you the truth, like if I wasn't doing my dojo, I'd be at Fit Body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my next step, you know, just to stay into shape and to keep going after I get too old or whatever you want to call it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was always fun. I always enjoyed our brainstorming sessions. You know, we could feed off of each other, and that's really nice because we were both in that same position of, here we go.
Yeah.
You know, like
what did we just get into?
Yeah, we got passion. Now what? So and it's been a great roller coaster of a ride, but it's definitely, holy cow, the things you've accomplished in almost 10 years and the things that I've accomplished in 10 years for what we're doing is and out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, for that matter.
That's crazy.
Okay, like, we're taking over the world from South Dakota.
Yeah.
Always been my goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been absolutely wonderful.
Tell me, you were mentioning before we started recording that something about the only registered Hapkido, or you said that your guys' club has the only registered. You're telling me, what was it?
Yeah, it's 3 things, which is wonderful. We are the only Hapkido within God knows how far.
Okay.
Never really heard of any other Hapkido. We're the only nationally registered judo club in the state, which means that your promotions and everything, now there's a registration fee, and that's such as life, you know, there always is for things.
Yep.
But your promotions don't go null and void, like they're nationally recognized.
Oh, cool.
You can bring your card to any judo club in America and be like, you know, boom, whether they want to recognize it or not is fine. But nationally you're recognized. And once you get up in ranks, then you start, you know, placing and, you know, getting points for tournaments, and then, you know, then you're on the national roster.
Yeah.
The other thing we have, which is kind of ironic because 5 years ago, yesterday is when we met Coach Sawyer.
Yeah.
My buddy Chris and I had started, mainly Chris forced me, because he's my good friend of mine. He's like, you're doing jiu-jitsu. I was like, okay, fine. You know, I took off all my gis and all my ropes on my body, and then he laid on me and killed me in like 2.5 minutes with just pressure.
So is jiu-jitsu, you don't wear a gi?
Not in the style that we do.
Okay.
We do all no-gi jiu-jitsu, which is very, in my opinion, user-friendly.
Sure.
You don't have to buy a gi. You can show up in your shorts and t-shirt. Yeah. Eventually, you're going to buy the cool stuff that everybody else is wearing. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But yeah, you can show up in your flip-flop shorts and t-shirt and just start to learn how.
And you do this barefoot?
Yep, barefoot on the ground.
Yep.
And the 10th Planet style is just so much fun.
Yeah. And so I remember for myself, I mean, I'm very unknowledgeable in the martial arts world.
Sure.
And I remember even thinking, like, what's a gi?
Sure.
Right? I didn't even know. So maybe someone that's watching or listening to this episode, maybe they're also like, what is a gi?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what is a gi?
Gi is just the uniform that we wear. It's usually made out of harder or thicker canvas.
Okay.
So when I had my Hapkido uniforms, they weren't as thick, and we were pulling arms off when we were doing throws. Like we're pulling sleeves off of people's uniforms.
Ripping them.
So these are a little bit tighter, and they're just standard colors, white for judo.
Got you.
When you get into nationals, you need white and blue for competition. But your gi is it's basically a canvas, kimono is what they call it.
Pants and a coat.
Yeah, pants and a coat.
And a belt.
And just tie your belt around it. You're good to go. Nice
and do you literally use, like, so if you're a one of the 3 brown belts, or,
Yes.
or any colored belt.
Sure.
But do you literally use that belt to tie your gi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. It just goes over like a regular standard belt, keeps your kimono crossed or keeps your gi crossed and it attaches.
And so when you start, that's your white belt. You
Right.
get the white belt, and then as you go up, you get the other colored belt, and that's the belt you tie it with.
Yep.
And that is a gi.
Yep.
Okay.
That's how the gi works. and
GI,
stuff like that.
like gi, GI.
Yeah, just GI.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a fun one, like Heroes. Like how do you say that one? Because it's spelled so many different ways too. So
A gyro. Gyro.
gyro.
Yeah.
Those are always fun.
Okay. So that's what a gi is.
Yep.
And then so no gi,
Jiu-jitsu.
jiu-jitsu.
No worries.
Is just shorts, t-shirt, no shoes, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it gets really, really interesting. And the great thing, like we are the only just strictly no gi practicing club in Sioux Falls.
Okay.
We do the 10th Planet System. No one else is doing the 10th Planet System.
What does that mean?
10th Planet is something that came up, and speaking of MMA, Eddie Bravo, Jean-Jacques Machado created it. And it's just, he was a jiu-jitsu player, and he's only got like 2 fingers. He's only got a couple fingers. So he had to work on underhooks and overhooks because he couldn't grip.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it started from. It's more of an MMA style, I'm going to say. I mean, all jiu-jitsu is an MMA style, okay? But a lot of the positions for the 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu is meant for not getting hit in the face. If you're on your back, there's ways to hold the guy to you to where you don't get hit and struck and so on and so forth. So that intrigued me. Yeah. And that's why I kind of just started that program. Plus, everybody already there's a couple different places that have a gi jiu-jitsu program. So as a business, you want to separate yourself
in some way.
Differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we just happened to run into Sawyer, who was moving into at a tournament, the local tournament here in Sioux Falls. Yeah. And he was the only one there. It was funny because he won all his matches, but they were 2 Sawyers, and they messed the names up. So he ended up taking the bronze, but he just humbled, smiled, and kept going. Yeah. Dude is super laid back. Sure. Amazing coach, knows his stuff, super awesome. Yeah. Very creative. That's the fun part about jiu-jitsu is like, I always tell him, I don't care how I die as long as it's cool. You better do something cool to me. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So actually stepping into that as a white belt and taking off my black belts a couple years was very interesting type of situation.
Probably like pretty humbling, right?
Super humbling, yeah, because you have a little bit of pride in your black belts and stuff like that. Yeah. But you learn that they're meant for certain situations. Yeah. So now I have a standing, a throwing, and I'm working on my ground techniques. I don't know what I'm going to do with it at almost 50. Sure. But just staying in shape at this point. I just really like the program. My youngest son, Cole, I train with him in jiu-jitsu. Okay.
How old's Cole now?
He's 12.
Oh, man.
Dude, he's like 150 pounds, too. He's like, no joke.
Wild.
He's only like 15 pounds lighter than me. He just needs the height. My oldest is just graduating college this week, actually.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, dude, Noah's graduating college this week. And
yeah, that's wild.
He's 6'2", 190. I don't know, it must skip a generation or something like that. Lucky kids. Yeah. But they're going to be some big boys. Because
I do remember for you, kind of gaining weight was always difficult.
Oh, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, you've got like a super fast metabolism. Yep. You stay very active. Yep. And I do remember that was something always like, and that is for the average client that I work with, and even for myself, like I fall into the category where I don't have any problem gaining weight. Sure. I definitely have problem keeping the weight off and losing weight. Sure. I wouldn't say problem, but it's more difficult for me.
Yeah.
Right.
And as we get older, it's harder.
Yeah. 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 So that's just wild, though. Yeah, Noah graduating college, Cole training with you. Yeah. That's wild, man. Super, super cool.
And he actually got me a couple weeks ago. Like, I was playing soft with him, and I shouldn't have been because now he's starting to get strong.
He took that split second.
He
caught you on your split second.
I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was like, boy, but now he got too happy, and I had to bring him back down a little bit. But, yeah, that's what you want. I mean, as a coach, as a dad, yeah, eventually your student should catch you. Yeah. Hit you. I mean, you always have tricks, but if you taught them right, then they know everything you know. You know what I mean? So it just kind of falls into place.
Yep. That's awesome. And so as it pertains to Hapkido and judo with jiu-jitsu, the whole thing of it is that I really just hope that our audience understands that health and fitness and working out, moving your body, there are so many ways. And so really one of the things that we've been really working on is bringing on different guests to this show that have a knowledge different than mine.
Sure.
But it is encouraging movement. It is encouraging wellness. It is encouraging taking care of your body.
Right.
Mind, body, and soul, the whole works. And so I just love that you have this program, that you have this gym, that you're passionate about it. I love that even through the ups and downs of life, you have continued to find a way to keep it going.
Yes, sir.
Because from a business owner, I understand it's difficult. And there are sacrifices that I'm sure that you've had to even make, with your family and with those that you love to keep this thing going. And that's just, it's awesome. And it should be something that you should be proud of, which I know you are.
Totally.
And I really want just our listeners to know that that's an option.
Yes.
There's many options in town for moving your body and staying in shape and doing something. And maybe if you've tried something that you just didn't love, whatever type of fitness that might be, try more things.
Absolutely.
Get out there and try more things. What we'll do is we'll put a link in the description of this video or in the description of this episode so that people can find your website. And on there, can they find a spot to be able to get a hold of you and then maybe even claim like 2 free weeks?
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
There's a trial free, and then they just email me and I say, absolutely, come on in whenever you're ready.
Cool.
That type of situation. If you'd like to, you can just come in as well. We are at 3504 South Minnesota Avenue. We're actually not far. We're just across. I can see your building from my building.
Yeah.
So we're just on the other side of Minnesota there, behind. Actually, Subway's gone, so it's gonna be like Heartland Computers.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So we're not very far from the central location. But I agree with you 100%. And whether it's martial arts or fit body or whatever, everybody just needs to find their niche.
That's it.
And as long as even if you can do it with your family, that's even better.
Yeah.
But stay in shape, stay happy. And I still wonder why we like being sore to stay in shape. But, that's just part of the thing that we go.
Part of it, right?
It's almost the prize of, okay, I did a good job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't mind that part either. But, definitely, get off the couch, go have some fun, grab a friend and find something fun.
And with that,
physical.
I think the thing with it is like, if you don't choose to go make your body sore in effort of getting better, in effort of staying in shape, if you don't choose to go find that sore, then what happens is that sore finds you.
That's right.
And so I kind of feel like go find it, because either way, you're going to end up at a point in life where you're sore.
Yep.
And I'd rather it be you're sore because you chose to go move your body and make your body better,
strengthen it,
than for all of a sudden you to find yourself at this point in life where it hurts to walk.
Yeah.
It hurts to move.
Yeah.
It hurts to get up and down off the ground. And unfortunately, the truth is, which is it's a sad truth, but unfortunately, that is what happens.
It does.
If you don't choose to take care of your body.
Yep. And I tell you what, I'm 46, still doing martial arts, and I don't mind the sore, and I feel great every day.
Yeah.
It's like I can tell myself that I did something that was worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I can compare myself to some others, and I'd like to take them along on my vision, on my journey with me.
Yeah.
Health and fitness, however you get it, is just super important for your body and for your mind as well. I always tell my students as well, the day you don't want to go is the day you need to go.
Yes.
The hardest day is always the best day.
Yep.
For some reason, you don't know why. You just have to keep that positive thought process of something's going to happen today, and I'm going to be really glad that I went.
Yep.
Plus it also, here, you got to make sure that you're paying attention to your workout. There, you don't want to get punched in the face. So it kind of shuts your mind off, and you got to focus on what you're doing.
Be present.
Yeah. You got to be present. You got to be accountable for what you're doing, and make sure you give it 100% of whatever you're doing too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or else it's not going to get anywhere.
That's right. Well, I love that, you guys. Let that kind of go with you throughout the day. Is be present, put 100% into what it is that you're doing, and just know that whatever stage of life that you're in right now, in a year from now, it could be 100% different and for the better if you would just decide today to take action. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode of the Sioux Falls Fit and Healthy Show. What I'll do is I'll pop that link in the description. You can meet my good friend Scooby in person. And Scooby, just thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I appreciate it, my man.
Thank
you guys, like, subscribe, and share this episode, because it's only because of you liking, subscribing, and sharing that we can keep making this for free for you. Have an awesome day, you guys. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Fit and Healthy Sioux Falls Show. Bye, you guys. Peace.
Have a good day.